Hola clase, vamos a repasar el vocabulario para Unidad 2, Lección 1, Clases y Horario. So you've already tried reading through the script yourself, reading through the Presentación del Vocabulario, and now you have filled in the words you think you've got. Let's check them and let's fill in the ones maybe you didn't get. So hopefully with the classes you saw lots of cognates, maybe a few of the verbs you saw some cognates, and you should have probably been able to figure out the numbers on the second page. But let's go through them anyway. I'm going to be looking at the textbook doc. You could have looked at this or the slides, depending on which you preferred. But I think this is probably a little easier to see on the video. Bien, so, and just for argument's sake, I'm going to pull this out. I'm going to pause for just a minute. Okay, so now I have these next to each other, which makes it a little easier. Bueno, letra A. Hola, me llamo Pablo. Mi amiga es Claudia. Somos estudiantes en Puebla, México. Me gusta llegar a clase temprano. Claudia, ¿qué hora es? Now, hopefully, if nothing else, you might have been able to guess qué hora es here because Claudia is looking at her watch, and qué hora es, of course, would mean what time is it? If you look on your list, you also had llegar and you also had temprano. So Pablo is saying he likes to arrive. Llegar is to arrive. And whenever you have a verb on your vocab list, it should always in English translate to something. Because the infinitive form, the dictionary form, the one we look up, is always to and then the verb. Okay? To arrive. And he likes to arrive to class temprano, which is early. So temprano is over here under time. We're going to type in early. Okay. Horario is the word for schedule. I did not put horario specifically on here. You're welcome to use it as one of your extra words if you would like. But obviously, we're going to be talking a lot about people's schedules. Letra B. ¿A qué horas son mis clases? Tengo muchas clases. Now, a qué hora, if you notice this has qué hora es and a qué hora es. The a would mean at. I'm actually going to put this in front. So you can ask at what time is a specific event. So you could say at what time is a class or at what time is a concert. So a qué hora es insert event, okay? Is at what time is something. Well, we have la clase de matemáticas es a las 7 de la mañana. Well, matemáticas, hopefully you could guess, was indeed math. And then we're not going to get into the time just yet. We're going to talk about this more tomorrow. But de la mañana is in the morning. And if you notice, the whole first row of classes are de la mañana. Okay. The next one, guys, got a lab coat on. Las ciencias. Las ciencias is science. Inglés. Hopefully you would know by now that that's English. And in English, we do capitalize our languages with an E. Now remember, their English class is more like your Spanish class. They're learning English as a language, whereas their Spanish class would be more like your ELA. It'd be more of a literature and writing class. All right, we still have arte en la mañana. So arte is, of course, art. Historia is in de la tarde. So we're going to get into something new. Historia is history. And de la tarde, you obviously at our school have classes in the morning, but you also have some in the afternoon. The last class they have is Español, which is Spanish, capital S. Hopefully you can guess now, de la noche would of course be at night. Okay. Again, we will get into these three terms more tomorrow because we're going to talk about time. Temprano is early. Any guesses? I would hope you know by now. What's tarde going to be? Oh, just like tardy in English, tarde in this context means late. Good. Son las 8 y tengo la clase de ciencias. A Claudia siempre le gusta contestar las preguntas. Ella es muy inteligente. Yo tengo que estudiar mucho y tomar apuntes en clase. So we look in the picture, Claudia is raising her hand. And most of the time in schools, people raise their hand in order to answer. Contestar, you answer in a contest. Contestar. Our lab coat wearing teacher, they have the verb enseñar. So hopefully you can guess that that would mean to teach. And Pablo is diligently writing in a notebook, so he is taking notes. Now you notice I have to take, tomar, and then I have notes in parentheses. That's because you could, of course, take something else. You could take a pencil from the shelf, or you could take, some snacks or something of that nature. So I want you to understand you could put a different word there with that verb tomar. Now, we also have the words siempre and mucho in here. And we also have some words over here, de vez en cuando, muchas veces, nunca, todos los días, etc. These are all what we call frequency words. It's how often something happens. So todos los días is in our list. It's every day, or literally all the days. Siempre, well, Claudia's super smart, so she always, siempre, likes to answer. If you know anyone, I believe it's the Marines that have the Semper Fi, often like a tattoo or a expression. That semper comes from is the Latin always, and siempre comes from that. Muchas veces, as you can see, is often, literally it's many times. Mucho is just much or a lot, depending on context. So he has to study a lot, mucho. De vez en cuando is once in a while or occasionally. And nunca, as you can see, is never. All right. Going down to day. Tengo que sacar una buena nota en la clase de inglés. A Claudia y a mí nos gusta estudiar a las 8 de la noche. Es un poco tarde, pero necesito estudiar. No me gusta sacar una mala nota. If you look, he's holding up an examen, a test, and he's very happy about it. And I don't know if I put examen down here because it's a cognate. I didn't think you need it. He's very happy about it. So he got a good grade, una buena nota. So to sacar una buena nota is to get a good grade. Sacar una mala nota is a bad grade. So we're going to say good/bad. You pick the word that makes sense. Be careful with the word nota. Nota looks like English for note, but that is not correct. That's a false cognate. Nota is the word for grade. Don't let yourself think it means note. He says, necesito estudiar. Well, necesito hopefully looks like necessary to you. So necesitar is to need. And usar la computadora should be a set of cognates. So usar is to use. And computadora, of course, is computer. Again, you could use something besides the computer. You could usar un iPad. You could usar headphones. You could usar a lot of things. All right. We had a few words down here, most of which are up in our little box here. Casi is almost. You might say casi nunca or casi siempre, almost never or almost always. Difícil hopefully looks like what it is, which is difficult. And its opposite is fácil, which is easy. I is a word that means there is or there are. And if I were you, I would make a little note to myself right here that this is pronounced like the letter I or like your eye in your head, okay? Because you're going to want to say that it looks like the thing that horses eat, but that's not how you pronounce it in Spanish. And cuantos is how many. And of course, there's space for some additional words, especially if you have some subjects you want to know how to say. These are great things to ask me. In your book, you have some extra classes right here. If you're not sure how to pronounce them, feel free to ask me. And if they're not on here, let me know. I'll help you figure it out. Now, we still have numbers. We've learned 1 through 10. That was back on your lección preliminar. Just to review, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, y 10. Now we are learning up to 100. So the first few, just like in English where we have 11, 12, 13, those guys are kind of weird versus like 21, 22, 23. We have some weird ones in Spanish. Hopefully you're able to repeat they. So if you can, or at least like mouth the word after I say it. Once is 11, once, once. Doce is 12, doce, doce. Trece is 13, trece, trece. Catorce is 14, catorce, catorce. Quince is 15, quince, quince. Once, doce, trece, catorce, quince. Now, the next ones all follow a pattern. They all are DSE, which is really diez, 10, E, and then the number. So 16 is 16. 17 is 17. 18 is 18. And 19 is 19. Repite, 16, 17, 18, 19. Very good, muy bien. Then we have 20. 20 is 20. Repite, 20, 20. Now, 20, every single one you want to add to that, you just do 20, you change the E to an I, 20, and then you put the number, 21, 22, 23. So I gave you 21, 22, but like if I wanted you to say 29, what would that be? Hopefully you're saying 29. Now, after that, we have the tens. We have 30, which is 30, 30, 30, 40, which is 40, 40, 40. 50 is 50, 50, 50. 60 is 60, 60, 60. 70 is 70, 70, 70. 80 is 80, 80, 80. 90 is 90, 90, 90. 100 is 100, 100, 100. Now, what if I want to say 34? Well, the way you do this is very simple. You say 30, 30. Then you say the letter, or the word rather, E. We've learned E before, it means and. 30 and then the other number, 4. 34. 34. Can you figure out how to say 86? Hopefully you looked at the list and you said, okay, 80 is 80. And I put E, then I put 6. 86. One more just for good measure. How about 47? 47. Now you'll notice that cien also has this word ciento. You use cien when it is just 100 by itself. The minute you go to 101, you say ciento uno. And the good news is you could actually do all the way up to 199 because you would just say ciento and then the next number, 186, 186, 122, 122. Bien? Hopefully this all makes sense to you and you've got your whole list filled out. If you have questions, of course, pregúntame. Otherwise, buena suerte. Adiós.